The human body requires many nutrients from outside sources in order to carry out its functions and maintain homeostasis. This is where the digestive system comes into play. We are able to acquire many of the necessary nutrients through the consumption of food. Consumption is the process that human beings must utilize in order to get nutrients and fluids in and get waste and excess fluids out through excretion. And this is done through the digestive system. The breakdown begins as food enters the mouth. The teeth mechanically grind and tear food apart, while the saliva, which contains an enzyme known as amylase, coats the food and begins breaking down starches into smaller carbohydrate molecules. Eventually, this food forms into a mass known as a bolus. The act of swallowing propels the bolus down past the epiglottis, which is this, and down the esophagus towards the stomach.
Once the bolus is in the stomach, it will sit there for 4 to 5 hours until it is completely gone and into the small intestine. The stomach can be stretched out to hold as much as 4 liters of food at a time. The stomach is covered in smooth muscles that mechanically rip the bolus up in the stomach, so pepsin, created when pepsinogen is introduced to hydrochloric acid, is available to fully soak into the food and begin breaking down proteins. The hydrochloric acid is blocked from burning a hole through the stomach because of a very thick layer of mucus secreted by the lining of the stomach. During this process, the bolus turns into a pasty substance known as chyme. The food and stomach acids are periodically and incrementally drained out of the pyloric sphincter and into the duodenum in the small intestine.
It is here in the duodenum that most of the digestion and absorption takes place. The small intestines excel at absorbing nutrients because they have many small folds called villi and even smaller folds on top of that known as microvilli. These folds increase surface area for a thorough nutrient absorption. When the chyme and hydraulic acid enter from the stomach, the pancreatic duct releases a combination of 22 enzymes and bicarbonate into the duodenum. To neutralize the extremely acidic contents from damaging the intestine, through the bile ducts, the liver secretes bile that begins to emulsify or break down fats. The epithelial cells within the small intestine produce digestive enzymes that digest all classes of foods. This, mixed with the contents produced by the pancreas and liver, water and mucus, all make up the contents within the small intestine. The food is passed along through the wave-like contractions of the smooth muscles called peristalsis.
Okay.
It passes through 23 feet of the duodenum to the jejunum, and finally to the ileum of the small intestine, and transfers to the large intestine through the sphincter.
The large intestine is composed of 4 parts: the ascending colon, the transverse colon, the descending colon, and the sigmoid colon, which is about 5 feet long altogether. It is here that the water and excess salt that traveled with the chyme are reabsorbed back into the body. Within the large intestine is E. coli bacteria that helps synthesize vitamin K. After the water is absorbed out of the chyme, it becomes feces. Peristalsis carries the feces from the ascending colon to the end of the sigmoid colon into the rectum. The feces is then stored into the rectum until the anal sphincter relaxes and defecation occurs. The entire process from consumption to defecation takes anywhere from 24 hours to 44 hours.